Welcome to a special episode of Let Freedom Ring. As you can see, we're not in the studio. It's going to be closed, and I'm not really sure how long before that does reopen. I usually do film on Thursdays. However, I do want to continue to bring videos, so I figured I would actually do one from home. In case I am going to have to be here for a little while, and there is a lot going on in the news. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I got my Notre Dame gear on today, for the luck of the Irish. But yeah, a lot to talk about, and we're living in very different times, obviously, and I don't know how this is all going to continue to go, and things like that. But we all just kind of gotta figure it out, and I think we will. I think we definitely will. I definitely think the United States will always rise above. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Bear with me. I'm going to try to make this as interesting as possible. Never really interviewed myself before. But the first question I always ask, where are you from and where'd you grow up? I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire. Spent most of my life there. Love it. Still love Nashua. #1 city, not once, but twice by Money Magazine in 87 and 97. Still ranks very high. I live in Merrimack now, which is, again, another great town. I love Merrimack. I love both places, but Nashua, I always kind of consider that's where I'm from. One thing that everyone should know about me. Couple interesting things. I've hiked every 4,000 footer in the state of New Hampshire, all 48. Finished that in August 2017. Started that in 2014, but wasn't very serious. And then in 2016, I really got aggressive and was hiking almost every single weekend. And it was one of the best times of my life. The other thing is I did it with a metal plate in my ankle. I had surgery in 2001 on that. I fractured it playing pickup football with my friends the day before my junior year of wrestling season started. So, yeah, my ankle's not great. My shoulder's not great either. I rotator cuff surgery on that. Is what it is. I'm, walking wounded, I guess. And the next thing is, what makes you proud to be an American, and what does it mean to be an American? I think what really, actually, I think I usually ask, what's your favorite part of being an American? And obviously, I think a lot of people have said freedom of speech. But what I really do love is the way this country can come together in times like this. I think what it means to be an American is even through the tough times, we persevere. We keep going strong. And I'm hoping that is really going to be where the American people take this, because we're going to be dealing with some difficult times. And, guys, it's totally understandable to be frustrated about this, to be upset about it. But how we react now is really going to affect us going forward. So we all really just got to do our part. I'm doing mine. I'm able to work at home. So I'm going to be doing that and really restricting when I really need to leave my home. That brings us into current events, and it is really just such a downer, with everything changing just so fast, and we have to expect that for now. And really what Americans need to do is take that action. I saw a Facebook meme earlier. It said, your grandparents fought a war. You can sit on your couch. We definitely can do that. Right now, businesses are closing, local restaurants. They're going to need us, guys. They still have takeout options, so I do recommend still supporting them. I know the government is talking about sending every American some money within the next 2 weeks. Hoping that happens. I know from when I saw a headline, I think they were calling in Andrew Yang, who kind of campaigned on something similar. Obviously doesn't want it in a time like this. I don't think any of us want to really be dealing with this. But if that does happen, if you're still working, boost that money into the economy, because we're really going to need it. There's going to be people hurting, and they're going to be hurting bad. And we really need to come together. Over the weekend, I kind of, we have a lot of stuff going back and forth on Facebook. Some things that I think a lot of people weren't, still not taking it serious, and you had some people that were, and you still have some others that aren't. But it is, and we have to make some changes. But the one thing we should probably stay away from right now is how divisive we really are. I'm not going to, moving forward, because I'm guilty of it too, I'm not really going to participate in any kind of social media that just divides us more. It's just not going to help. I mean, yes, I've been very critical of the president and his handling it, but, riling everybody else up with social media posts isn't going to do anything at this point. We really just need to come together, all together. Doesn't matter who voted for what, because we don't have a choice. We're all in this together. So, guys, I would really try to avoid the divide. That's really just my opinion. I think that'd be the best for us, and let's just go at this together. And a united America can never, ever be stopped. And that's really what we're going to do. So, help out. Buy gift cards from places right now. Look out for your neighbors. There's just a lot that's going to be going on, and we can do the best that we can in this time. But I don't want this show to all be a downer, because that wouldn't be enjoyable. That's the other thing that we need to think about. Take time for yourself not to think about it, because it can be overwhelming, and it's okay to be upset about what's going on right now. No one's happy about this. But work on that mental health too, because that's going to be important. Don't overwhelm yourself with all of this. So we'll talk about some other fun stuff. Pop culture. I guess I'll just kind of talk about what some of my favorite movies are. I am a big fan of baseball movies. Always have been. Some of my favorites are Bull Durham. Love Bull Durham. Kevin Costner was great in that. They all were. Tim Robbins. I hope now I'm questioning myself. I'm having a little bit of memory loss here. Susan Sarandon in that too. That movie's just great. Major League is one of my favorites. The Sandlot, Angels in the Outfield. I mean, all the baseball movies are really awesome. Another movie I can just watch over and over is Goodfellas. That's a great movie. It never really gets old. You think I'm funny, haha. Pesci's just amazing in that movie. Ray Liotta's really good, and De Niro's really good. So I highly always recommend that. Love anything with Denzel Washington. Wow, I'm really struggling today. I guess it's harder to do this interview without an actual guest. Gonna be honest, but Denzel Washington movies are always great. Loved Malcolm X. I mean, he really became Malcolm X in that movie. Sounded like him. He acted like him. Denzel's just unbelievable. Training Day, amazing movie. Obviously, Remember the Titans. I mean, there's so many movies, and I think right now, everybody's going to have a little extra time to enjoy more movies. It's going to be about passing the time. So definitely, I think someone shared today that movie theaters are also going to be able to make it so you can get movies that are actually out on demand. So I think that's just that's going to be great. Everybody coming together. I mean, that's a small thing. Just drinking my non-alcoholic beers. I'm in the mood for an actual beer tonight. I get a lot of crap for drinking those, but I enjoy them. I'll also talk about my favorite TV shows. I mean, I have two of my favorite. Sopranos. Sopranos is unbelievable. James Gandolfini is just unbelievable as Tony Soprano. I mean, he's my favorite character, probably ever, of any show. He's just so good. The whole cast is very good. I told my friend Chris at work one day that he needed to see this show, And he was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And now he's been absolutely addicted to it. I think he finished all the seasons pretty quick. If I had to pick a favorite season, I'd probably go season 5 of that series. Which is weird because my other favorite show, The Office, I would also go with season 5 in that show. That's the season where the roast of Michael Scott. You also, in that same episode, Dwight with the fire drill. Just an amazing show as well. Just so funny. I was heartbroken when Steve Carell left that show. Like, it was like, oh, this is not really happening. But as time goes on, that's what happens. People leave shows. I really enjoy Right Now. Hopefully their season doesn't get delayed. But Cobra Kai, it's on YouTube Red, I believe. It's the story of, from the Karate Kid, where they're going on is now they're adults. And the feud continues. And I really think that's just a great show to get into. You can buy the DVD for $20 if you can still buy stuff in a little bit. So, you'll still be able to buy stuff. Well, we just don't know what's going forward. But Cobra Kai, I highly recommend it. This will definitely help. That show will definitely help get through some time. All right, next one. Big topic. This stings a lot. Tom Brady has left the Patriots, and it looks like, as of right now, is the last thing I saw, he's signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. I don't blame him. I mean, if they weren't going to pay him, I think he started to feel a little bit unwanted. So it's really hard to blame him. I don't know how much Tom actually has left in the tank. I could see him playing 2 more years. It's a sad day for the Patriots. Wanted to see him retire as one, but we had to start to accept that this was a reality. I mean, he's 43 years old right now. But I will say I'll never forget, all the joy he brought all of us here in New England. I mean, he took over as a quarterback in 2001. I think I was 17 at the time. I'm 35 now. And really I think the Patriots, I think Robert Kraft was a good owner at that point. The league's changed a lot, but he really put that team into the dynasty that it is. I mean, him and Belichick together, and I give Kraft some credit there too, all this time. And now it's kind of over. And, here in New England, we don't know what's going to be next. I'm not going to stress about it. After all the great times that we have had, it's really hard it sucks, but you do have to kind of move on with it. And I think, I don't know how it's going to go for Tom, but, I'll never forget the memories. And he took over. I remember when he took over, that's actually when I fractured my ankle. It was my junior year. And I had watched football. I loved Drew Bledsoe. But the league was different. I was a little bit younger. But I remember just getting, when you're laid up, I wasn't missing any games at that point. I had no choice. Then not much of a social life for a high school kid. I was home every Sunday, laid up, watching those games. And, I was like, who is this kid? How is, this guy's better than Bledsoe? Like, it just was a crazy, crazy time. And I don't think in 2001, I ever thought that, they would have gone on to win 6 Super Bowls. No. I thought it was a one, that was it. Because I remember the next season, they weren't as great, and then they got back on it, and then they just owned the division for 20 years. Thank you, Tom Brady, for everything. There will be a statue of you eventually at Gillette. I'm positive on that. So New England, don't be be happy it happened. Don't be sad because it's over. And it is what it is. And good luck to him in Tampa Bay. So good luck. Now WrestleMania is going to be moved to the Performance Center. At this point, WWE and AEW, 2 wrestling companies, are the only. They're sports entertainment, but they're only almost kind of sport we have left. I mean, everything else is done. My thing is they've been taping shows at the Performance Center, but if one person in WWE gets coronavirus, they'll probably shut down too, and that, it just sucks. It just sucks. And everybody that bought tickets for WrestleMania, I feel for you. I mean, there's no way to put it. How are they gonna be able to make this work? I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be like. It's definitely gonna be one of the weirder things that we've ever seen, especially with how big WrestleMania has gotten. In these giant stadiums over the years. I mean, me and my brother went to MetLife last year, and it's just it's just an atmosphere you'll never be able to duplicate. It's crazy. If you told me a year ago that this was something that could ever happen, I wouldn't believe you. So, let's see how that goes. That's going to be interesting, and let's just hope before the time, I think it's 2 weeks away, that nothing else breaks. It's all about containing this and stopping the spread. So I don't want to get too much into politics today. I think we're all right now just kind of drained on it. I really think we just got to stop the divisiveness. We're gonna have to all come together. Like I said, I've been very critical of President Trump, and I'll continue to be in certain ways, but it's just not worth getting into people online about it, guys. It's just causing more issues. I'm guilty of it myself, and I'm not telling anybody what to do. It's a free country, but we do need to come together. So I don't really want to touch on politics today. I don't think anybody wants to. It's so draining at this point. Usually politics for me is a lot more fun. In times of crisis like this, it's not as fun to talk about. And I know everybody has strong opinions one way or another. But division ain't going to help the country right now. So whatever we can do, we got to do our best to avoid it, myself included. And, be there for everybody, So I'll just take the last segment. This isn't going to be a very long episode. Blank versus blank. Segment where we put two things against each other and you have to choose one or the other. So the first thing is, do I like WWE or independent wrestling better? I love going to independent wrestling shows. They're a great time. It's more what's the word? I mean, the smaller crowds. It's just better interaction overall. I do like still going to WWE shows. I just don't enjoy them as much because it doesn't have that interaction. It's hard for me to say, but WWE I can watch weekly at home, and so I would say WWE over independent wrestling. But as far as being there in person, I'd pick an indie show over WWE. I mean, Cold Fury every year for Chaotic Wrestling is just such a good time. So, in every show that they run. Softball or baseball? Well, I grew up playing baseball until I was about 17, 18. And then started playing slow pitch softball in college. The Canadian Hunters, Plymouth State. And we won it the first year that I played. I mean, I'd still rather watch a baseball game. But as I am getting older, softball probably is a better fit for me, so I will pick softball. It's easier to hit a softball, it's easier to field a softball, and it's smaller field altogether. So, do I ever want to step back on a baseball field? Not really. I don't. Then I picked wrestling or rugby. Grew up in since I was in third grade, I started wrestling. Wrestled all through high school. I didn't go straight to college, so I wasn't gonna make the transition from high school wrestling to college wrestling. But when I did go to Plymouth State, I did start playing rugby, and had so much fun with those group of guys. Still do an alumni game every year. I've only made a few. I'd like to keep going and seeing how that's doing. But if I really had to pick, I would pick wrestling. I started as a kid. I coached it for about 7 years too. I really miss doing that. And I think it's probably my favorite sport that I ever did as a kid, as much as I love baseball. Um, Even though wrestling can be so grueling, absolutely grueling, but when you're away from it like I am now, where I don't even coach, I miss it a lot. I bring this up all the time, Jordan versus LeBron. I think LeBron's a better athlete, but people are going to be happy for me to say this, but I think Jordan was definitely the better winner and the better competitor overall. I mean, I remember LeBron coming out against the Spurs, I think in 2014, and I was like, come on, it's really, I hated LeBron when he signed with Miami, just like everybody else, because I knew the Celtics were never going to be able to get past that team, even though they almost did. But he grew up, he went back to Cleveland, he won a title. People are going to complain about him till the end of time, but I don't mind LeBron. I like LeBron. I think he's a better athlete than Jordan, but Jordan is the better competitor and the better winner. And I'm more than willing to admit that. Movies or TV? That's a tough thing. I really enjoy a movie. I would probably say movies. I guess I don't watch a ton of TV outside of wrestling and the shows I kind of mentioned. I don't really have a show on TV that I actually really watch. I guess I watch Investigation Discovery quite a bit. A lot of people like those type of shows, those criminal shows, even though they're not scary. The stories are horrible, but I do find the Investigation Discovery interesting. But I don't watch a ton of TV, sports, wrestling, so I'd have to choose movies over that. Did I enjoy college or high school better? Honestly, I think I loved wrestling in high school, but I didn't overall. I loved being a Purple Panther at Nashville High, but I don't know. High school is just okay, just going through the motions. You're young, all kinds of stuff going on. It's not something I look back on and say, hey, I need to reconnect with all these people. I think I keep in touch with a lot of people on Facebook and things like that, but. I'd pick college. I loved Plymouth State. I love going back to Plymouth State. Anytime I'm up in the mountains hiking, I love to stop in and see if Biederman's is open. So I'm going with college. We had a lot of fun. My 20s or my 30s. I think I'm only 5 years in my 30s. 20s were all right. Had a lot of more relationships in my 20s. I mean, I've had a bunch in my 30s too, but they weren't great ones. Maybe one, but overall, I didn't play as much softball then. Probably until I was like 26. I guess my 30s have been pretty good, except for tearing my rotator cuff. I got in the best shape of my life. At one point I was hiking out. That's when I finished all the 4,000 footers, got more into softball than I ever have. And you start to have more money in your 30s, so I've enjoyed my 30s. Tearing my rotator cuff, not my favorite part. That happened in a flag football game. Was going for a low pass and got taken out. So yeah, I'd still pick my 30s. I still would. 90s or 2000s. I love the 90s. 2000s were great though, as far as like winning for sports teams. So I guess I got to pick the 2000s over the 90s, but the 90s were cooler. College football or the XFL? Still college football. I really did love the XFL. It was so much fun. Going to that Defenders game in DC with my brothers and Tim Hogan. But I still enjoy watching college football more. Been a Notre Dame fan since I was a little kid. And, hopefully they win something again, But, yeah, I would pick college still. I love the XFL. It's fun. And I wish that they could have finished their season. But times that we're in. John Cena or Randy Orton? People have hated on John Cena for so long, and I remember being part of that. When it was all the the men from, I don't know, 21 to 35 booing John Cena, and then all the kids and the women cheering for him. I think John Cena is one of the best people that ever did it. And I think he's bigger than wrestling at this point, but I love Randy Orton. And I have to pick Randy Orton. And a big thing, too, is Randy Orton could go babyface and heel. John Cena has done heel, which means the bad guy, in his time. However, Randy's been able to do both really well. He's much better as a bad guy. So I gotta go Randy Orton. So here's another wrestling one. Austin or The Rock. Definitely, again, The Rock has become bigger than he's a movie star. But he left wrestling, I think he was like 30 and he was already done with wrestling. And, and he put over Brock Lesnar right before he exited. He did come back, make a few appearances. But, Austin too, they both had fairly short careers. Austin's neck, by 2003, he had to retire. I think he was like 36. I don't know for sure how old he was. He was at least in his mid-30s. And he didn't really have the choice to retire. But I also think in the boom of wrestling, that Attitude Era, Steve Austin was the number one guy. So I would say Stone Cold would be my pick. Baseball or football? I love football now, probably more than I ever did when I was a kid. Because the thing is, sometimes you're a kid, if you don't play a sport right away, because I started playing football when I was 15 and I didn't go on in high school and play anymore, but so about then is when I played and then started to understand the game more. So I gotta go baseball because this was one of my first loves. I understood baseball right away. Definitely growing up on, we didn't get Nesson all the time, and you had to pay extra for it. So me and my brother used to watch TBS and watch the Braves all the time. And I love that 92 team, and I think it was in first grade. And that's what really got me hooked on baseball. And as I got, even to 8 or 9 years old, I started just loving it, absolutely loving baseball. So I think that'll always be something I love more than football. But I end up watching more football now. It's just how things change. I asked this to Bobby the other day. It was Red Sox or Patriots. I think overall, nothing will ever top the first time that I went to Fenway Park when I was in second grade. Now, Bobby's probably upset because they let Brady go. Red Sox let Mookie go, and it goes back and forth. But I think Boston will always be, the Red Sox will always be my favorite sports team. I love Fenway Park and everything. So I would go Red Sox, but love the Patriots. Just as much. Red Sox, maybe a slight bit more. Nashua or Merrimack, I would definitely say I have enjoyed living in Merrimack, but a lot of things I like to do are in Nashua still. So I would probably say Nashua. I'm a Nashua guy forever, and that's just the way it's going to be. Quebec City or Montreal? I've only been to Quebec City once, but I think it blew away Montreal. Actually walking around the city. If you can ever get to Quebec City, you need to do it. It's unbelievable. But I still do love Montreal. Gone there for many different reasons than going to Quebec. But Quebec City was amazing. I need to go back and visit Montreal too. But I would love to see them eventually bring back the Expos. Hopefully Major League Baseball can do that one day. The Rays don't really draw. Why not? Put them in the AL East. I don't care. I'd still root for them when they're not playing the Red Sox, I think Montreal deserves a team. My two favorite shows are The Sopranos and The Office. If I had to pick one, as much as I love The Office, and I do, I think it's the funniest show ever. The Sopranos is it's there. You just can't top it. It is the greatest show ever on television. Like I said, can't top Tony Soprano. best character ever. Yeah, Sopranos. And then my two loves in my life right now, as far as activities, are hiking and softball. As much as I love softball, if one I never did again, or I had to choose, I don't think I'd ever. As much as I haven't been hiking like I used to, knowing that it's there, I'd probably choose hiking over it. As much as I do love softball, but there's just something about being in the whites that are just, I can't explain it, and I need to get back out there because I really do miss it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this experimental type episode of just interviewing myself. Hopefully we can get back in the studio, and then maybe at some point when this dies down, even if I can't get back in the studio, maybe we can do episodes with guests from here. Not really sure how this is all going to play out. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of us don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And I'm just hoping that it does die down, and we stay ahead of the curve, and do your part. Stay at home. I know people don't want to do it, but do your part. But also, in doing your part, still support local business the best you can. Like I said, an example is, restaurants and takeout and things like that. We're all just going to have to come together and stop the divide. We don't need it right now. It'll always be there. We'll come back to it, but I don't think we need it that much right now. We're all going to really come together, and hopefully we can do that. But we'll keep you posted, and hopefully the show, people found this interesting. I don't know. We'll see. But until then, let freedom ring.